So we're here with director, producer, playwright, Julien Nitzberg. He's a Renaissance man, this guy. Yes, all-around Renaissance man. And actors, Danielle and OG.
Yes, hello.
Hi. From the new, Julian's new Michael Jackson's, I guess, is it a musical or a stage play? Or both?
It's a stage musical.
A stage musical. Yeah. For the Love of a Glove, an unauthorized musical fable about the life of Michael Jackson as told by his glove.
That's how it is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this. I'm really excited about it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's in like a month away, right?
January 25th we open.
January 25th.
Yeah. At the new Carl Sagan and Dream Theater in Echo Park, Los Angeles.
Yeah, right over in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Or in Echo Park.
Yeah, I guess. I guess technically it's Echo Park, but yeah, close enough. Anyway, happy holidays! I got you guys some chocolate coins, some Hanukkah gelt. Yeah,
Thank you.
It's always good. Did you ever get that when you were a kid?
Yes.
That would be a gift my dad would give us for one night of Hanukkah. It would be like, that's why Hanukkah just sucks. It's like you get maybe one decent gift, but then you get like a pair of socks one day, or my dad would be like, here's some chocolate coins. And it's like, great. Yeah. Hanukkah guilt. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway,
it's better than Hanukkah guilt.
Yeah. There's lots of guilt.
And you're a bad son.
You only get one coin.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time you've been on Sick and Wrong.
It is. Because
you were on the show I did with Lenora called The Obscenesters.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, I forget his name, but he was the director of the Devil and Daniel Johnston.
Oh, Jeff Rutzig.
Jeff, yeah. Did you get him to come on too?
Probably. He's one of my best friends, and we write together a lot.
And that's another great documentary. And then we were talking about the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, which was a Johnny Knoxville produced documentary that you did.
Yeah.
And that was great. I mean, didn't you spend like a year living out in West Virginia?
A year and 4 months, yeah.
Wow.
Just hanging out with these guys.
Criminals getting my life threatened. Riding in cars after people just like sniffed a lot of painkillers and be like, come on, check out my new car. Oh, I forgot to tell you, it doesn't have reverse and the brakes don't work. All right, look how fast I can go.
It's like a family of tap dancing outlaws, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jessica White was like the main tap dancer.
Yeah.
But he came from a generation of tap dancers.
His father was a famous local dancer, and his father used to dance with Hassel Atkins, and so that's how I met them.
Psychobilly.
Yeah, so I was doing a Hassel Atkins documentary, who's this guy who basically was in 1956 when Elvis was I always explain, when Elvis was giving birth to rock and roll in 1956, Hassel was trying to kill it, and he was, and everyone else is singing romantic songs, and he's singing songs about cutting people's heads off.
Yeah, redneck, psychotic hillbilly music, really.
Yeah.
The Cramps actually covered a couple of his songs.
Yeah. So basically, he was doing punk in 1956, like one-man band.
He was like a G.G. Allen of like rockabilly kind of.
Yeah. He was another person who threatened to kill me.
It's a long list of people here.
Bring out the best in people.
But you know what? When you're hanging out with bipolar hillbillies, it's kind of tough. And he'd gone 7 straight days without sleeping, and
it takes a toll on you. You know? I remember one of my favorite memories of hanging out with Julien is we went and saw the Reverend Bob Larson do a live exorcist at a hotel, like live exorcism at a hotel right outside of LAX, like right near LAX, and your dad was there. It was great. It was like a big group of us and your dad, and like he's sitting there pulling people from the audience, like trying to get the devil out of them. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
No, that guy, he exercised that one really crazy bald guy.
That crazy bald guy, who I'm convinced that guy was a plant.
I've been to so many of his exorcisms. It's not a plant. Like,
you think that was real?
Plant.
I don't know.
So? There's always a plant.
You know what?
That's how it works.
That guy was a rubber plant.
I will. He's coming back in January.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, we should go again.
Do you know who Bob Larson is?
No, but I know it's a plant.
So he's this guy who made his name in the 70s because he was the guy who said all rock and roll is evil. And he was the leading guy who was like leading protests against Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, he was against Black Sabbath. He was against Ozzy. He was against like all heavy metal at the time.
I just learned about Marjo
Marjo Gordner?
Yes, he's another. He was some
I
sort
love
of
Marjo.
charismatic preacher, and then later he's like, "It's all a fraud."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he sort of did some acting in the 70s.
He was great. Yeah, the documentary on him is great.
Yeah,
so.
he's another one.
But, so,
Yeah, but Bob's daughters are even in the exorcism game, right?
I've talked to people there who were like...
Make that exorcism bucks.
Yeah. I mean, that guy was amazing. Like, no, this guy, like, when his demon came out, he started fighting Bob, and Bob's a guy in his 60s.
Yeah, there were like 3 guys or 4 guys holding him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The demons come out and will attack Bob, and so it's like the best of Christianity, the best of professional wrestling.
It's just kind of melded together. It is, yeah. It's
Like
the social dynamics in the room. Yeah, it's
if you love The
entertaining.
Exorcist and you love Mexican wrestling,
You gotta tell me where he's gonna be in January. I'll
I
definitely
think
go
he's
check
back
that
in
out.
Pasadena. I subscribe to
okay.
his newsletter. So,
Oh wow.
Some place with a lot of seats, like what, the convention center or something.
no, he doesn't attract that many people.
Yeah, he only gets like a handful of people, and then he goes out and tries to sell you his like special exorcism cross and his like special exorcism Bible. That's what it is. It's like a scam.
Yeah.
But
oh, for sure.
I gotta say, it is. I mean, whether or not these people are a plant and they're actors, or whether it's real, it's a spectacle. It's definitely something to see.
It's hilarious.
I mean, I've talked to people who, because I've gone to a lot of the exorcisms, and I've talked to people, they're like, oh yes, I was exorcised. And, like just random people there. And this woman was like, I really, Bob is amazing. I brought my gay friend. He was really struggling with his sexuality, and I told him it was just...
Got the gay demon out.
And it was like, I told him it was just his demons. Like, this woman talked to me for 20 minutes. She was like, and I had no idea, because I took him, and then it turned out I was the one who had a demon, and I had no idea. And Bob found my demon, and now I've been studying with Bob for 6 months, and giving him a lot of money.
I was gonna say, how much?
Yeah. Because he has classes that you could sign up for too.
And she was just like, and my friend who is gay, he didn't find any demons in him.
Bob Larson should have probably exorcised Michael Jackson.
He
could have got the demons out.
Yeah.
The story might have turned out differently.
Oh, one last Bob Larson story. We went, and probably that day when you came afterwards, like I had a couple of friends who came, one of whom was Eva. Do you know Eva?
Oh yeah, Eva was there.
Yeah. And Eva's a very attractive woman, and they were all like, let's take a picture with Bob. Bob was like, I'll take a picture with you. And she said, as he was posing with the 2 women, he totally did the accidental butt graze.
Of course.
Not surprised.
I'll take a picture with
He
you.
was just checking for demons.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Butt demons.
Butt demons. So, your controversial new stage play here, For the Love of the Glove. It's interesting. I don't think there has been a take on the Michael Jackson story quite like this. But you claim here that MJ's history of child sex abuse is due to a glove-shaped alien forcing Michael Jackson to feed on boys. Is that a good summary?
That simplifies about a two and a half hour show to its most salacious talking point. It's a much more complicated show. You guys talk about it. I don't know.
You're on the roll. It is much more complicated.
It does stem from a TV network. I write biopics for TV networks, and they reached out to me to write a Michael Jackson story.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what inspired you.
It's actually inspired.
Right. When did they ask you to write it? That's my question.
It was...
Because there were a few.
Yeah.
There were a couple.
It was almost... I think I looked through my emails. It was like 15, 17 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
really?
Yeah. That long ago.
Yeah, to give you the long version of the story,
Please don't.
Okay.
It's a brief podcast.
Daniel's like, I've heard this before.
The short... Okay.
The Cliff Notes.
The shortest version was actually one network asked me... This is where the original idea came from. They said, we have this news story. Someone broke into the Motown Museum and stole Michael Jackson's glove.
Oh, my God.
And I know it's gone for 2 weeks. They offer... why am I spacing on his name? the rapper who always wore the harem pants.
MC Hammer?
MC Hammer offered $100,000 for its return.
What? Oh, I love it.
Wait,
Really?
what museum was it sold out?
The Motown Museum.
The
Museum.
Motown
you know
in
what?
Detroit?
Yeah.
It's like Judy Garland or whatever. Who was the one in Wizard of Oz?
Judy Garland.
Yes,
Yeah,
her
that's
red
Judy
shoes
Garland.
were stolen.
Judy.
They were from a small town in Minnesota,
Yeah.
and there's a little museum there, and I think her shoes,
Someone
thing,
lifted her
disappeared or
shoes.
something.
Yeah.
The red
That
ones?
has to be fact checked, but there was a whole thing of them going missing, and now they're back.
Yeah, so this was kind of like that, and then they returned, and they said, "Can you write a movie about this?"
Wait, someone just returned
About
the glove.
being
Yeah,
stolen?
How-
yeah, and I
They
was
just
like,
left it on the doorstep.
"Yeah, like they mailed it back."
What about the $100,000 from
fascinating.
Hammer?
They never claimed the $100,000,
Oh, wow.
That is fascinating.
and I kind of was just like, "Are you guys fucking with me?" Is this and I was like, "You want a serious story on this? Like, you know nothing else?" They're like, "Yes." So I went home and I started working on it, and I started coming up with the initial idea that this glove was an alien being that was kind of like the ring in Lord of the Rings. Like, soon as you put it on, it
just
starts
evil, yeah.
it starts affecting you in evil ways.
Yeah.
But it gives you the amazing talent of Michael Jackson. And so the original earliest version of it was this guy keeps coming to the Motown Museum and it's hypnotizing him like the ring from Lord of the Rings. And then one day he steals it and puts it on, and he's this fat
My
white
precious.
guy. And the fat white guy suddenly can dance and sing like Michael Jackson. But he does find himself occasionally walking by elementary schools and doesn't know why. And it gets weirder from there. And of course, they didn't want to make
Yeah, I
that.
was about to say, what was the reaction of
sound
the network? Were they just like, what the hell?
They were like, "Can you do a serious version?" I'm like, "A story about Michael Jackson's glove being stolen?"
Yeah.
this is about as serious as you can
This
get.
is serious.
So,
And then a couple years later, another network asked me to do another story, and I was just like, "Listen, no one can explain what was really going on in Michael Jackson's
Yeah.
life. Like, who explains him buying the Elephant Man's bones? Nobody. Like, you gotta go weird." And so that's kind of the origin. And over the years, I kept thinking about my take on it, and then finally I was like, I want to write this as a stage musical. So, and it's all original music, no Michael
okay, yeah.
Jackson
So you
music.
can't use any, even with like something that's satire. You can't like parody a Michael Jackson song like Weird Al did.
We didn't want to.
It's all
We
original
wanted
music.
to do all original music that was part of the musical and tells the story. So,
Oh, okay, all right. So it's like,
and it's a lot. It's about a lot more. You guys
But
can.
the songs are great. I
The
think.
songs are really good, though. Yeah, they are. They go with the story and the vibe and the feel and the energy that they have. Like, it's pretty. And the words that go in this to the songs.
Yeah.
did you write all
It
the
goes
lyrics?
there.
Yeah.
But who wrote the music?
Composing team I'm friends with Drew Erickson, Nicole Morier, and Max Townsley.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And they're
Do you guys sing in the
Yes.
Yes.
in the musical? Oh.
Yes.
We sing, we do puppetry, we
Yeah.
act.
That was my next question. So what made
dance.
you decide to do the play with puppets? And these are like Japanese bunraku puppets, right?
Yeah, they're full body size. Like, basically, Michael's puppet is life size. So it's what, 4'10"
At least, yeah. At least. Mhm.
Danielle.
And there's hand puppets too.
Yeah, Danielle works 3 different puppets.
I am a hand puppet and I'm 2 body puppets.
She's Hazel Gordy, Barry Gordy's daughter, who marries Jermaine Jackson.
Jermaine Jackson's wife. Yeah.
Yeah. She's Emmanuel Lewis.
Webster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. yeah. That's
Spending
great.
my days losing track of the way. Never getting caught up. You know it. Love was
heard that in
never
years.
brought up. Everybody.
And she's also one of the evil aliens, because there's
Right.
5
I don't
aliens.
know
there's
that I would
5.
call myself evil. I have goals and things I want to accomplish, but I don't see myself
Driven.
as evil.
Driven. Yeah. Well, what about you, OG? Who do you play?
I played Joe Jackson.
Joe Jackson,
The
Michael's father.
The father.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
He is.
So, had you done puppetry before, or was this your
I
first?
had never done
first
puppetry
time, wow.
other than, having a puppet theater as a kid in preschool. And I was nervous about it. And then we had a week of puppet camp, which was great. Put away all my fears. I love doing the puppets now.
Well, you had puppet camp with like puppet trainers
we
that came out
had-
and showed you how to do it.
Yes.
I mean, is it difficult? I mean, they seem unwieldy. They seem very large.
Well, some of them, the body ones, some of them strap on. I'm doing quick change, so mine, there's just some strength and grounding involved, but they're not, I'm not dancing with them on. You know,
Oh,
other
okay.
people are doing even more. But after the week of, we had puppet theory where they sort of explain, like, dispel what you think puppets are, or, you know, what we usually think of as puppetry here, and then you're just sort of starting from the ground up, learning like basics, you know, grounding your puppet, connecting with your puppet, making it focus, things like that.
The usual.
So wait,
And
is
there's
Joe
like-
Jackson a puppet as well, or is
No,
he's a character?
I'm the
Okay.
only one in the show with no puppet. I don't. Yeah, I have puppet experience, but I don't do any puppetry.
What's your puppet experience?
I used to go around in schools and do like a nutrition show.
Like a
with puppets.
ventriloquist?
No, it was a
okay.
whole like body puppets, and
Oh.
like I would be like the guy coming looking for a job, and then I'd run into these puppets. But we all change roles, like depending on like if somebody is sick and all that, the actor. So
you just
they
learned
were
how to do
hand
puppets.
puppets, all kinds of different kind of puppets. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to do a puppet play? Like, had you ever done worked with puppets before?
I hadn't. I mean, as a kid, I had.
Well, yeah. Who hasn't?
But yeah,
Right.
I just think I'd seen a lot of puppetry in Chicago and just loved puppetry more than real people. And you know, when I was thinking about the show, so the first act is all Jackson 5 era, and the second act is just Michael Jackson the year he makes Thriller. So we don't go into like the really dark years of Michael. It's
So you don't go to like the Leaving Neverland years.
we don't get
The
into
Conrad Murray years.
Yeah, no. we imply what we know is going to happen in it, but our Michael is a very different Michael. Our Michael is the Michael we wish existed, and who we wish had been controlled by aliens.
He might have been. You never know.
Yeah,
He was kind of a weird dude.
if you understand that aliens were doing all the weird things that Michael was attributed to, you feel a lot better about Michael's career. So,
Well, that was one thing I was wondering if, like, the alien glove is your, like, coping mechanism to rationalize the fact that he's kind of a creepy dude, or became one.
well, I mean, that's when they asked me to write this. I was just like, I can't explain this, but you know, and I grew up as a giant Michael Jackson fan. Like as a little kid, I was watching the Jackson 5 cartoon all the time, and so at the end of the day,
Thriller changed my life. When I was a kid, that was like one of the coolest things I had ever seen up until
yeah,
that point.
everybody's-
Like I never really even knew about horror movies at that point. And then I saw that, and it was like me and my sister like wore out 2 VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah.
doing it. It was
Yes,
like,
yes.
I mean,
The
that's the
making of
thing.
Thriller,
He
the
was such an
VHS tape.
icon.
I mean,
and he played a role in all of our lives.
Yeah.
But it was weird to see what he became in the 90s. Like, what was your reaction when you saw like what's going on with Michael Jackson
I
these days?
always wanted to, you know, they were like American royalty.
Yeah.
And then
I mean-
especially for black people, they were always in the magazines, and we just lived by, you know, they got to live in California, and they had a pool, and, you know, the latest and greatest of everything.
And so talented.
You know, so I guess at the time I was just like, okay, I see the surgeries happening, but it's easy to sort of say like, well, it's a freaky life.
Yeah,
You know,
I
you
mean,
just,
it's
it
like
was
he's a
easy to write out
celebrity.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was like easy to sort of be like, well, I guess there's plausible deniability of blah, 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 blah back then. And
And it was also, you know, you're limited to how much you knew because
Oh,
there's no
exactly.
internet.
Yeah.
There was, you know, we didn't
Exactly.
know
back,
about a lot
back
of
then
this.
for me, I was more like when he was little, I was like, oh, he looks like me a little bit, you know, a little chocolate
big-ass afro?
boy and all that. Yeah, the afro. And then as I got older, I was like, well, he's not so chocolatey anymore. Okay, he doesn't look like me as much, and so I started separating. But I love the music still, but I didn't identify with him as much. I was
Right.
like, he's not chocolatey.
And I will say that the vitiligo thing, now it's like, oh, people have vitiligo, like models and like America's not like, if Michael Jackson hadn't had the vitiligo, back then it was like, he ain't got no vitiligo. And then as time has gone on, people have sort of acknowledged like, oh yeah, that's a real thing. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like the girl who won America, or I don't know if she won it, but she was on America's Next Top Model, and she's not doing any makeup or anything to cover it. But it's like, I kind of feel like that wouldn't have been possible if the word vitiligo hadn't kind of gotten into the mainstream because of the Michael Jackson thing.
Yeah, because people had heard. I don't think people really fully comprehended what that meant.
Yes,
at the
yes.
time. I didn't know what it meant. I was just
I
like,
actually
okay.
had it when I was like younger for like a stint of my time, and they had to talk to my school and tell all the students not to treat me different and all that because I had these like skin like light.
It's like splotches, like
yeah,
light
little
areas.
splotches.
Yeah.
And my parents would take me to the doctors and find out, and then all of a sudden when it just my skin just like matched. And the doctors didn't know why, but and they were just like, "Okay, go home now." But yeah, the school.
Was it because you stopped masturbating?
Yeah, probably.
Yes. Yeah, I remember. I always
I
remember.
was like, it's getting everywhere. It's turning my skin colors.
So what are your sentiments on that documentary that came out, Leaving Neverland? Did you guys see
I
it?
have it. Keep until I delete on my VCR, DVR. Are you kidding me? Because I knew, like, you don't know, you might not be able to get a copy of this.
Yeah, I mean that's
It's
definitely true. You might
history
never.
in the making.
Well, that's the thing. Like that's one thing I was wondering about your play. Like the Jacksons are like very litigious, and I heard they were suing HBO and they were suing. So were you
Right.
at all worried about some kind of lawsuit that could happen?
I mean, we hired an attorney early on to like read a First Amendment attorney to read the script and vet it and be like, okay, and she basically said, Jerry Falwell versus Larry Flint, we're protected under satire rules, and went through everything that like could be, causing trouble. But I think when people come to see a show where it's an alien glove controlling Michael Jackson, they might know not everything's true. So
I mean, I think they also like appreciate the comedy behind it.
Yeah.
It's like,
So,
but in all honesty, do you think he diddled those kids?
listen, I've never wanted to have sleepovers with 10-year-olds. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's
I'm
what
like,
blew my mind about that. Is like the parents were just like, yeah, here's a stranger. I'll leave my 5-year-old with this guy. Or the 6-year-old. Who would do that? That's why there was. I mean, the parents are definitely culpable.
Well, that's what's interesting about the documentary and the Oprah follow-up special is that it's a process of people trusting. These were kids that were like, I'm a super talented dancer. So there was always a professional reason that they were around each other.
And the stage parents.
And then it's sort of gradually like, hey, I'm mentoring, like it, when you see it happening in slow motion, you might not notice it in real time. Because it's not like, I'm pulling up in a dirty van. It's not that.
with
It's
candy.
puppies.
No, you're pulling up in the dirty van at my house with puppies
And candy.
and candy.
So wait, does the alien glove drive a dirty van? Or
Well, no.
No.
But it's about, it's not, I think the show itself, it's not just about like that moment. It's about the whole thing of them getting in the Jackson 5 getting into the music industry, and there's a lot of stuff about Motown and, Pat Boone.
Donny Osmond,
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that because you also go into Michael Jackson's background as a Jehovah's Witness, which is
that's
a lot of
a
people
big
kind of
part of it.
overlook that. But I mean, such an oppressive religion had to have had an effect on him.
Well, that's, whenever I'm writing something, the things I think about are like, what's the religious background of the person? What's the economic effects on them? And then like, what are the societal effects, whether it's anti-Semitism, racism, etc. And with this story, those became major things okay, what religion did he grow up in? He grew up in a super homophobic, anti-sex religion, which is Jehovah's Witnesses. And Jehovah's Witnesses teach you from when you're a little kid that if you masturbate, it can turn you gay. And
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that. Wow.
yeah, so that's the fourth song in the show is about that. And basically Catherine's telling him, if you ever masturbate, you're going to turn gay. And Jerry Minor, who plays Thrilla, the main glove in it, was raised Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, he was in a documentary too about it. Jerry was.
Yeah,
And it's much more of a cult. Even as a kid, I remember that thinking like, Jehovah's Witnesses. That's because it was known that Catherine is a Jehovah's Witness, and sort of making them all do it.
I mean, that's the door knocker religion, right?
Them
One
and the
of them.
Mormons.
Yes.
Yeah, those
Yes.
are Mormons. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, one of them. Yeah.
So but his brothers always teased him that he was a little girl because they obviously sensed Michael was probably gay, and so that one of our producers was the Jackson 5's tour manager back in like '68 when they started, and he was like, yeah, they used to always tease him that he was a little girl. So we're kind of getting into, what is a kid who's probably knows he's gay, who's being bullied by his siblings for being gay, and his mom is telling him if he ever masturbates, he'll be gay. How does that affect his sexuality and his future?
Yeah, his development.
And his development. And, if you look at all these anti-sex religions that are all about oppressing your sexuality, obviously a Catholic priest, etc., none of it turns out good.
I mean, it kind of, you can kind of understand how he came to be what he came to be, in a sense. But I think, wasn't it also like Joe Jackson was also really abusive and oppressive? And I think, and people say like that's kind of what led to his stunted development as an adult. Like that's how they explain it. Like he was very childlike, and that's why he would have these sleepovers when he was like in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
With like, do you have, is Corey Feldman a character in the,
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, he is.
Corey and Emmanuel Lewis come over for a sleepover.
Wait, did he ever diddle either one of them?
They say that he didn't.
Yeah, they both say deny it, yeah.
And Macaulay Culkin, is he in it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That was
he's-
later, though,
Yeah,
right?
his
That was
name
later.
is briefly mentioned. But
In a
he does
song.
not appear.
So, how do you respond to critics who say you're making light of something very serious? Like, people like, have you had critics come forward and say, like, you're making a joke out of these serious accusations?
People people always attack any kind of good social comedy for that kind of stuff. Like,
Look at South Park, same thing.
well, my last musical, which was 11 years ago, was called The Beastly Bombing, and it was a response to 9/11, and it was
yeah, that must have gone over well.
and everyone in New York was just like, you can't do this musical.
Too soon.
And then we took it to all these theater companies here, and everyone was like, no one wants to see this, and we ended up opening it here, and it ran for a full year and won Best Musical of the Year award. But it was about two Al-Qaeda terrorists who come to New York to blow up the Brooklyn Bridge. And when they get to the Brooklyn Bridge, they meet two white supremacists who've shown up at the Brooklyn Bridge to blow it up also.
Where they have a common bond.
And then in song, they both realize that they both equally hate Jews and become best friends. And comic hijinks go from there, including they're escaping from the police and they run into New York in the first clothing store they see because they need to get new clothes because the police have seen them is a clothing store run by Hasidic Jews, and they run in.
This is like a Mel Brooks musical or something. It sounds very Mel Brooks-ish.
And they meet a Hasidic Jew who also hates Jews, just secular Jews. And they come out dressed as Hasidic Jews, but it's all about 9/11 and Bush era politics and terrorism.
Bush politics.
And the LA Weekly wrote up, which was a great newspaper in its day, wrote a great thing like comparing us to this show at the Amundsen, which was also about Bush and 9/11. They were like, this show explains it all much better because it's funny and it's not trying to be serious, and it's like helping you process what really happened, and its theories make more sense than trying to really understand what Bush was doing when he starts these wars in Iraq that have nothing to do with 9/11. And so, people, came week after week seeing the show like it was Rocky Horror. And it's the same thing when I was thinking about Michael Jackson. It's like, how do we process Michael Jackson? Do we do it with a dreadfully dull, serious drama? Or do we do it with comedy to process what I think?
Just to kind of understand it. I mean, I guess that was my part. Well, my thing was like when Leaving Neverland came out, their radio stations were like, we're not going to play Michael Jackson anymore.
Right.
And I was like, that's not fair. Like to deny the music to people.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, it's how people are processing it.
And we,
Right.
I'm sure to you guys, to me, who grew up as a little kid loving Michael Jackson, and then as a teenager loving Michael Jackson, how do you reconcile these two Michael Jacksons? There's like the great Michael Jackson of amazing music, dancing, and changing the world. Like, and then there's this other Michael Jackson, and our comedy is a way to, you know, for me to process it and like still realize,
make sense of it.
Yeah,
and I mean that's what true great comedy does.
He's been dead for 7 years now, so I think once a person is dead, it's different.
Fair game.
Than, you know what I mean? When they're alive somehow, you know, like whatever he's on the other side or whatever. I don't know what they believe in. I don't even know that he remained a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah,
I think
as soon as he
got
left,
out of it.
Yeah, did he leave?
Because the entire family,
left.
They all had to live there, and they would all just like get married to leave.
Oh,
you know, they would all be like, "I'm getting married. I'm 18. Bye." You know, every single one of them, like LaToya.
Yeah, it's like as soon as
Janet,
they can escape.
they all got married when they were 18 because that was like their way of leaving the house.
or having sex.
So if you had,
If I could only have sex when I got married, I would have been married at 15.
It's interesting because that's almost like a Mormon thing too. Like all the people at Brigham Young, and they all are married, and they're like super young.
And is it arranged? Like is most of the marriages arranged?
No.
I thought they
In Mormons,
I thought with Mormons they like
know
know another family, and it's all kind of close within the church, kind of thing.
It's probably within the church, but it's not like an arranged marriage, like
in India or something.
In India or something.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I did a lot of research into Jehovah's Witnesses, and I read this one great book by this Jehovah's Witness woman who later became a comedian after leaving the church. But she talked about how everyone just gets married at 17 or 18 because they want to get laid, and literally at their and they don't care. It's like when you're 17 or 18.
Well, you can't masturbate.
Yeah, you can't
turn gay.
And they said they literally say the vows, and while everyone else starts to party, they run upstairs and have sex just to get it over with and come back to the party because they've just been, you know.
Well, what kind of party? They're not allowed to drink, are they?
Jehovah's Witnesses do drink.
Oh, they do?
They're
okay.
big
The Mormons
alcoholics.
that don't.
Drinkers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mormons don't drink. Yeah. So just going back to your thing, like, I think the comedy is pretty broad, but it's also hopefully very intelligent and deals with, I mean, a big part of the show is also dealing with Donny Osmond and the Osmonds, who were created as cultural. I mean, when you talk about cultural appropriation, nothing could be more ridiculous than the Osmonds' creation.
Explain that to me, because was there actually a rivalry between the Jacksons and Donny and Marie Osmond? Because I guess I must have missed this. I was probably a little too young at the time, but what happened?
Do you guys want to talk about that? I mean,
I don't really know much. I just know
like,
from.
did you know this during the time?
I always said the Osmonds were for people whose families wouldn't let them listen to a black band. You know, it's like, oh, well, why don't you listen to the white version of that? That was always kind of my theory, and then it was borne out.
I mean, did they?
I knew that they had
have
songs
the style,
that sounded alike.
Like copy the style and the look and the dancing.
Yes, apparently. I knew they had a song that sounded exactly like it. And Donny Osmond's thing was always, I got a little bit of Motown in my soul. They would always bill him. Because Marie was a little bit country, and Donny was a little, because I used to watch the Donny and Marie show. They had a variety show in the late 70s.
Did the Jacksons have a...
Yes.
Wow,
The
that's
Jacksons had a
interesting.
variety show, too. So I think that's absolutely what it was. It's America. There's going to be the black version, and there's going to be the white version, and never the twain shall meet.
Well, it sounds like they're probably producers are like, this is, the Jacksons a hot thing. We got to get another one. And so they like...
Yeah, bubblegum pop.
Yeah, so basically, to get deep into it, like, the Osmonds were originally a barbershop quartet, and they were performing at Disneyland. And they were performing, get ready for it, minstrel songs.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It just gets worse.
yeah, like, you just, like, when I started doing...
And that had to be, what, the sixth? That's
Yeah,
like
what
That
year?
was way too late to be doing
Yeah.
minstrel. I hope they were in, like, Yesterdayland. You know, like, come on, man. I just watched...
Yesterdayland.
You watch all those old Hollywood musicals, they love to slip in a minstrel number. Like, it was just part of the rotation.
They were
Proud of it.
They were in Song of the Southland. Yeah. Like, there's Uncle Remus being like, and here's some wonderful white children I love. Who also think slavery was great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like, basically, it was like, you know, as I did my research as a white dude, but I started finding out, like, in the black press, everybody knew it. You know, like, but in the white press, no one talked about it. and they were doing minstrel songs. They were on the Andy Williams show, like being really cheesy, and literally they went on tour. And while I was following the timeline, their transition seemed to happen. They started being interested in doing more contemporary music, and they went on tour with Pat Boone's Japan.
Oh my god! Wow.
And they come back from tour with Pat Boone, and they get signed by this guy Mike Curb. Do you know who he is?
No.
So Mike Curb is like this evil right-wing Christian guy who ran as Republican for governor of California, and just like basically he took over what I forget what label were the Velvets and Frank Zappa on, was it whatever label it was. He kicked all the interesting bands off of it because he was like, this is crap, we need good, wholehearted, wholesome,
like wholesome music.
I think he might have been involved with the Carpenters too. I'm pretty sure.
God. Yeah.
And so he's all about bland white entertainment, and he
It's like Branson, Missouri, or something.
they all end up in Branson.
Yeah.
And so he signs the Osmonds. He sends them down to record at Muscle Shoals with Aretha Franklin's band, and
She
suddenly,
must have loved that.
yeah, and suddenly they have a song called "One Bad Apple," and
I don't even know that. I guess I don't really
I
know
know
their
it.
music. Yeah. I mean, does it sound kind of
It sounds
Motown?
like ABC.
it
Oh,
sounds
really?
exactly like the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
We were.
I like the same melody, more or less, or just it's
Same.
just similar. Wow.
One
I mean,
bad apple can spoil
they used
the
to do
whole
that
darn
a lot,
bunch.
though, at that time. Just
yeah.
copy riffs and copy the melody to different songs.
When the Jackson, this is true, it's
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
show. Katherine Jackson heard the record on the radio, Michael's mom, and said, "Oh my God, the Jackson 5 have a new song," and she thought it was the Jackson 5. There's on YouTube, I found there was an Osmonds TV movie when they used to do like biopic TV movies.
They had a okay, I need to look that up.
Yeah, and they had their own one, and it's produced by the Osmonds, and you see them in the studio at Muscle Shoals, and they're not getting a good song, and the producer says, "Why don't we give them that Jackson 5 sounding song?"
Wow.
And you're
Yeah.
just like, so it's not
Unbelievable.
Terrible.
So did anybody ever call them out for it? Like, did they... I mean, obviously it must have been known in the black community. Did anyone come forward and be like, what the hell are you doing copying?
Yeah, that's kind of-
like actual talented musicians.
I know nothing about when I grew up, I didn't hear about the Osmonds.
Yeah, I never... I guess I knew of the Osmonds. I just never knew their music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Them as a
I bet.
group, they were a little before my time, but I definitely remember Donnie and Marie. And it was a little bit creepy, too, because they were brother and sister, but there would be sort of the mild flirtation banter.
Yeah.
That
they
was
would
kind of
have,
weird.
you know?
They were stealing Sonny
little
and
too
Cher's
close.
out.
Yes, they were Sonny
Yeah.
and Cher.
And they were young, too, weren't
Yeah,
they?
they were
Like,
like- they were
17,
teens.
18?
I mean, it's great. It was the 70s. It's great variety, just cheesy, horrible.
It's like Joni Loves Chachi kind of thing. Yeah.
So part of the thing we get into is, not only are they doing the Jackson 5's act, they're dressing like them, they're learning to dance like them, but they're Mormons, and Mormons...
Oh, and they were Mormons.
Yes.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Who don't believe in masturbating because it can turn you gay. And, and we're teaching the Mark of Cain doctrine. Do you know about that?
Oh, yeah. With where you're branded with the mark of Cain.
Cain killed Abel.
Yeah.
God turned Cain a punishment. He put a mark upon Cain. Is
Yeah,
what the
the
Bible
mark of the
says.
murderer.
But the mark is turning him black. And the Mormons taught that at the end of days, when Abel returns from the dead and Jesus returns from the dead, eventually the curse will be reversed and black people will finally turn white again.
Oh my God.
So
Yep, Mormons. I mean, Mormons were like posthumously baptizing Jews that died in the Holocaust.
there was
Remember
really,
that?
Anne Frank. They
Yeah.
turned Anne Frank into a Mormon.
My father was a rabbi. I just remember my father was so angry.
Oh, my God.
He was
That's
just like, I got the
terrible.
Mormons. I think they might be worse than the Jehovah's Witnesses.
So a big part of the thing is dealing with the fact that his rival who's stealing his act believes he'll turn white eventually. And Michael, when he gets vitiligo, starts going like, oh my God, maybe
It's actually could be happening.
the mark
yeah.
of Cain might be being lifted off of me right now. So
I mean, thematically, you deal with some very heavy issues.
our
Very
second
heavy
number
topics,
in the
yeah.
song in the show is a song where the KKK comes on stage and sings. So it's
They go there,
yeah.
but in a fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it
fun.
sounds
It's
fun.
fun.
So, how did you guys come to audition for the role, or how did you find out about it?
I found out about it through a friend of a friend, through a drag queen I know.
You know Jackie Beat, right?
But Jackie B, yeah.
Danielle's
From
in
Nora.
And you?
One of the producers of the show that I've known for a long time called me up and told me, he was like,
This is the
you know,
perfect role.
He's like, I think you might like this, and I think you should be a part of this. He's seen me act and perform before, so he says, I have some people you need to meet. And Julie was like the first person I saw, and I was like, hey, and he's like, go up and do your thing.
Had you always wanted to play Joe Jackson?
No, I always wanted to, as soon as I found out about the show, I wanted to be a part of the show. And when I contacted Julien and them, I was like, I didn't know what role really. I was like, maybe I'll try this one. I like about 3 or 4 roles I thought, and like maybe just I wanted to be a part of it. So and plus Joe Jackson, I don't know anything about Joe Jackson. I mean,
It's like an angry
Capturing
dad.
in perfect.
I knew about Michael. I didn't know about no Joe. I know Joe didn't want that. Joe wants the actual Joe wants him. He wants you to know about him too.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's how knowing about Joe and everything, and now getting the character of Joe, I'm learning so much. And but no, I didn't focus on just being Joe, but yeah, I just wanted to be a part of this. Yeah.
For a really cool role.
But,
Yeah.
but now you have the Joe mustache.
Yeah.
I was
Just
gonna
need some
comment.
green
I was
contact
gonna
lenses
comment
and
on
a
that.
The thing that's so great
Rest in
about
peace.
Yeah.
He's also deceased. Let's just have a moment. Okay.
A little bit of respect.
the great thing about Joe is just every picture you look at him is like you're dressing to be a villain in the story.
He just looked like he was angry, just about to get mad at you.
Yeah, he just
know?
always looked like a villain. Like no matter what he
Yeah.
did, like it's not like we'll get to know him.
It's
then.
the fedora.
Is it the
He's
fedora?
wearing a fedora with like his collar up.
Maybe that's
90%
what it
of the
was. Who gets to play Tito? Is Tito in it?
Wait, what kind of question? Where'd that come from? Tito.
What about Tito?
You remember Eddie Murphy when he used to do his Michael Jackson impression? It's like, Tito, give me some tissue. My favorite.
Tito is actually a puppet.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
Tito's a
Justin,
puppet. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same guy who plays Donny Osmond is
Yeah.
playing Tito, such as it is.
Do you have all the Jacksons are in the movie or in the show?
We don't have any of the females. The sisters aren't.
Oh,
in
so
the
no
show.
Latoya, no
Unfortunately,
Janet.
not. No Latoya, no Janet, no Rebe. That would be like the 8-hour version where we get out of that. I mean, God, I wish I could do that version because I love Latoya so much. I just like,
She's great. Well, Michael started looking a lot more like Latoya later
Yes.
on.
or vice versa.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Because I don't know if you know this. Like basically, like Michael hated his dad, and he hated that he was growing up to look like his dad and had his dad's nose. So the reason he had plastic surgery was he didn't want to look like his dad, so he got a new nose to look less like his dad. And his dad, like I don't know how long, but right after that, finds out who Michael's plastic surgeon is, goes to him and goes, "Give me the same nose Michael has."
Oh no!
That is diabolical. That's terrible.
That is a deep cut.
And so like Michael's like all happy with his new nose, and Joe shows up and he's just like, "What happened to your nose?" And then Latoya gets the nose, and then Janet gets the nose.
Yeah.
They all start getting the nose.
It was like the nose job that every black person was getting.
Yeah.
You couldn't be in Hollywood in the 80s. Like, you had to get a nose job if you wanted to work. It's sad.
So it's opening January 25th.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in LA. Do you have
Yeah.
plans to take it on a national tour?
We're looking into where we're going next. We're hoping to go to a bigger space at a certain point, and then hopefully New York. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So
yeah.
isn't Michael Jackson getting his own Broadway show? I was reading about this.
He is.
It's like MJ the Musical or something.
Yeah, and they kind of, after the HBO documentary, they stopped for a little while, and no one knows how they're going to do the new musical, but it's all authorized, and we'll see.
It'd be great if you two were playing like they're on Broadway,
Right.
you were right off Broadway at the same time.
People getting mad because they got tickets to the wrong one.
April Fools.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I mean,
I'm
all these
stoked. I can't
jukebox
wait to see
musicals
it.
are so terrible. Like,
Oh, they're awful.
It's just like,
Yeah.
oh God, and like, who wants to see another bad jukebox musical?
I mean, that's the thing. It's like I'm surprised they don't like just do a hologram or something.
They do.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Do they already have that too?
The Roy Orbison hologram has been
Yeah,
on tour,
I'm surprised they
that's
do
great.
it
Yeah,
like in
I saw that was
Vegas,
like a
like a
2D
Michael
thing.
Jackson hologram.
Yeah,
Surprised.
So
We'll see. Well, I'm excited to check it out. So I'm definitely gonna get tickets, and actually I advise all LA listeners to go check out For the Love of the Glove, and everybody else just go to the website fortheloveoftheglove.com, and you can find out if the show will be playing in their city.
yeah, you
I
can,
imagine
you can hear some
eventually.
songs. We've got one song up already, World's Greatest Superstar.
Oh, nice.
We're probably going to put Don't Masturbate up soon, which is another song from the
Well, I
show.
might end the show with that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yes, she's an amazing singer too. There's a lot of really amazing talent in the show. For as like crazy as the premise seems, like people are the real deal.
Yeah,
I'm pretty blown away. Like when at auditions, I was just like, wait, that person's great. That person's great. That person's great. Like normally at auditions, you're like, well, I guess I can try and work with that person. And then like I've got like these like titans of comedy, you know, like in the show who are just like every day I'm just like they're funnier than the script, you know.
I mean, was it difficult to decide?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, did you turn anybody down that wanted the role? I mean, were there like famous people trying to get in on this?
We didn't have famous people, but we had amazing,
Like accomplished.
yeah. You know, I mean, Danielle's been like in tons of shit, and OG's also a really well known, mostly animation actor. So,
Yeah.
And
are
it's
you allowed
such
to talk about that?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, Spider-Man and Monster High, all that stuff.
Oh wow, yeah. So, I guess that's the thing. I mean, in Los Angeles, there's so many people with like such varied backgrounds, and you've been in so many different productions. It's got to be tough. A lot of competition.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
Danielle was on Mad TV. Jerry was on Saturday Night Live and Mr. Show. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and you know,
Tough town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Well, I'm very stoked. Okay, thanks for being on the show. Yeah, thanks for
for
coming
having
down.
us.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a lot of fun talking to you guys. And people, you definitely have to go check out For the Love of a Glove.
yeah.
Unauthorized musical fable about the life of Michael Jackson as told by his glove.
Thank you.
Definitely want to check it out. Happy New Year, happy holidays.
Happy
Yes,
holidays,
happy
happy New
All
Year.
right. Take care, you guys.
Ooh, hallelujah. Ha. Stay away, my son, from naughty masturbation. It is Satan's most insidious temptation. A weenie in your palm can lead to moral harm, and spending eternity in hell. It isn't worth it for deflating your penile swell. No, no, come on, baby. The Watchtower says it leads to homosexuality, which is not a part of any healthy form of morality. It makes a lot of sense if you're not completely dense, that when you touch your gland, the penis of a man is touching your own hand. And no matter what you say, that's completely gay. abomination that will keep you from the holiest salvation. So don't masturbate. 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 Don't be gay. Just be straight. Don't be gay. Just be straight. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. I don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. I don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't hug and tug the slug. Don't beat your rolled up rug. Don't grease your little pony. Don't elbow the macaroni. Don't get fuel on your noodle. Don't squeeze the apple from your strudel. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't be gay. Just be straight. Don't be gay. Just be straight. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. I don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't masturbate. Don't squirm and firm the worm. Don't churn to butter the sperm. Don't empty your inner rock. Don't swat your scrotal snot. Don't play one-handed solitaire. Don't go under your underwear. Don't seize in your own fist the part from which piss is pissed. Don't take out what should be in. Don't unleash the juice of sin. Don't commit this wicked gap, 'cause you'll earn eternal wrath. And eternity is very long, not worth it for stroking. Don't masturbate. 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 I don't masturbate. Don't you masturbate.